What's up, dude? I'm Jason Butkiewicz. How's it going? After using the FX6 for a little over a year now, I want to share with you guys 3 things that I absolutely love about this camera, and 3 things that I absolutely, well, maybe not absolutely, but definitely sort of dislike about it or find a little bit annoying.
Drip Eliante, pulling up, feeling like Harry Belafonte. Look at my racks, feel like Serena went from the backs.
All right, right off the bat, first of all, let's say, what's the best way to do this, do we think? Go back and forth between them? 1 good thing, 1 bad thing, or 3 good things, 3 bad things? What do you think? Leave a comment, let me know what you think. Like the video if you agree. Okay. Okay, alright, let's see. Okay, when this camera was coming out, I feel like you kind of had 2 options. If you were looking at this camera, you were either looking at this one or the C70. And I personally went with the FX6, but I have a buddy who went with the C70, and so I've used it a fair amount. And I will say the first thing that I love about the FX6 is its top handle. I think a lot of people like complain about the top handle because you have to have it attached to the camera to get audio into the camera, but it's like, that doesn't bother me at all. And in fact, I think that this top handle is like a sick top handle, especially compared to the C70's top handle, which is like just a piece of metal with like no function to it other than holding it. There's no record button up there, there's no other function buttons up there. It's like, there's no mic attached to it. It's like, what the heck? Like, this top handle is badass, dude. So, I mean, like, that's one of the first things. That's one thing that I absolutely love about this camera is the top handle. Second thing I love about this camera, which I think is very underrated thing that I don't see really anybody talking about when they're talking about this camera, and that is its cable management. Like, it has these little like cable clips attached to it all over the place, and they're sick. It's like a great way to like route your cables, and you can I route the monitor cable through the cable management thing, but then I also sometimes will route like, it's like the cable that goes to the monitor from the V-mount battery in the back. Like, it's like a 12 volt cable. But I love that cable management. It's so sick, and the C70 doesn't have that. I'm just saying, again, not to make this a FX6 versus C70. I don't know. I personally really think that's awesome, and I love that about the FX6. The third thing that I like about the FX6, I think that again, man, I didn't mean for this to be in comparison to the C70 by any means, but the other thing that I think the FX6 did so well are these like mounting points all over it, like on the camera itself. Like right now on this guy, on my FX6 filming me right now, I have a magic arm with the monitor on it, and it's like screwed right onto the camera, and it's cool. You don't necessarily need all this other stuff. I mean, I have all this fun other stuff, but like, you don't really need it if you don't want it. Like, you can just attach stuff straight to the camera, and they're freaking clutch, dude. They're sick. So that's 3 of them right there. That's 3 things that I really love about the FX6. But there are some things that I dislike about the FX6, and the things that I dislike, they're kind of nitpicky, but and it's mainly just comes down to placement of things on the camera itself. So I guess let's say the first thing that I dislike about the FX6 is its memory card slots and where they're located. I find it pretty tough, especially when I have it in this configuration with a V-mount battery on the back, like vertically. It's hard to get to the memory cards. I personally, the way that I have it out with the big BPU 60 battery is the V-mount sits kind of a little bit away from the back of the camera, and so I'm able to open up the memory card slot, but it still is tricky to get in there and get the memory cards out without sort of unscrewing the V-mount plate and like, you know, adjusting it in order to get back there and get on camera. It's fully assembled usually, unless I'm like packing it up to go somewhere. But I mean, if I'm just filming at home like this, I mean, it stays fully assembled. So I would rather not have to like sort of disassemble these parts of it in order to get to the memory card slots. But, you know, I'm like, it would be quick to unscrew the fucking thing and like pull it down and like open the slot and like eject the memory card. But I just am so like stubborn or something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's stubborn or what, but I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I'm always like trying to like fiddle my fingers in there and like get the memory cards out, and like, it's kind of a pain in the ass. Maybe it's just user error, but you know, that's one thing. I wish I could just leave it all assembled and pull the memory cards out, and And the second thing I dislike also has to do with the placement of things, and that is the headphone jack. And maybe it's just the headphones that I have particularly, but the end, or the this part of the headphone cable, it's like pretty long, and so when this is plugged in to the headphone jack on the camera, it makes turning the power on and off sort of difficult. It makes it hard to get to the power button or switch, whatever you want to call it. And it's because this kind of extends farther to protect it from ripping. It has this like extra little bit on there. You kind of have to like move past it to like get to the power switch to like flip it on and off. And I don't know, I'm a battery saver, so I like to turn the camera off and turn the camera back on pretty regularly. Like kind of every time I sort of go away from the camera, I'll turn it off, or you know, I'll turn it off, try to pull the memory cards out and run into this fucking issue, and then I'm like dumping memory cards onto a hard drive and like reviewing footage, and then maybe I'll be like, oh, let me go back and reshoot this thing or redo this, and then I have to like go fiddle with all these fucking things again, and I'm just like, God, dude, come on. And I think the third and final thing, my biggest gripe with this camera, not even the biggest gripe, I honestly think those two things are my biggest gripe, which is pretty good, that those are the only two issues I have with the camera, really. The third thing though is like I do sometimes tend to, and I know this is completely fixable, but I always just forget to flip the hold switch, but I always end up like pushing one of these buttons on the side of it on accident and like changing settings. Like I'll change my shutter speed or something accidentally because of how I'm holding the camera, like, you know. And you could, this is all, it's all just me forgetting. If I just hit the hold, there's like a little button on the side that allows you to flip it to like hold, and it sets all the settings in place, and that way you don't accidentally change anything. And I always just forget to set that button to flip it to hold, but I do end up accidentally changing settings a lot on this camera, which, you know, is something I didn't really find myself doing that much when I was shooting with DSLR. But on this one, I'm holding it against my side, or I'm like holding the side of the camera for like stability, and I accidentally change settings. And again, totally my fault. That's just another little thing. One other little thing that I dislike about the camera. But man, those are such small things, right? Just like the memory cards are sometimes hard to get to when I have a V-mount on the back of it. Or like when I have my headphones plugged in, it's a little bit difficult to turn it off and on. And I always forget to hit the hold switch, so I change settings. It's like barely problems for the camera to have. This camera is sick and I love it. And the good totally outweighs the bad things. And like those are like the only 3 bad things that I have had issues with, and those are so minor. Overall, this camera is super sick and I absolutely love it. So anyways, there you have it. There's 3 things that I loved and 3 things that I not so much love about the FX6. Again, it's a sick camera. Anyways, if you liked this video, maybe check out another one if you got time, or subscribe so you can be notified when I release a new video. And you know, you can hit that bell notification button. That's what everyone's telling everyone to do nowadays, so you know, you might as well jump on the fucking bandwagon. Yes. I'll catch you on the next one.